Angithokozani kuni nonke bantwana bethongo. Angibingelele kuni nonke abathandekayo. It's me, Matapelo, an indigenous prophet, Nomthandazeli, based in the south of Johannesburg, Soweto. It's indeed good to see you again. Today, today's topic is about single parenting. I'm going to speak on the maternal side today. So some of you get into relationships. Well, most of us get into relationships, and sometimes it does not work out. And in this day and age, it's not as straight as it used to be. Literally, back in the day, you didn't find our grandparents dating. A man would approach a woman, and they would approach the woman for days or weeks in order to find out some things about her, to find out if she was compatible to him, to find out the essential things he needed to know, whether she would make a good mother to his children, whether she would be acceptable to his family, whether because back in the day what was important was ukwandisa umndeni, whether she would be able to hold the family together. These were the values that men used to use to choose a wife, and families used to use to choose a wife for a man. So these days we find that the dating period is elongated and people go into dating for many different reasons. Some go into dating for leisure, for enjoyment. They go into dating for enjoyment, and because of the socio-economic changes in our country, this has also affected the rate at which people get married and the age at which people get married. Most of our parents, by 16 they were working, by 20 they were working, just because of the kind of environment. And it was not hard for someone to find a job back in the day because of the political systems that were in place, but that's another discussion for another day, whether they were labor jobs or what kind of jobs. We obviously know they were substandard jobs, but they were enough to run a household. So the objectives of a man and women were different to now because of those changes that I have mentioned to date. And because of this, many people find themselves dedicating themselves to a relationship that turns out either to be short-term or to be long-term without an objective to marry. Now, in these terms, while people are dating, it can happen that children are made. So what happens when a child is made during the dating period, meaning no lobola has been paid, or no desire to marry has been communicated or formally introduced to either yourself, the party who is in the Ntlaulo, or the family. All right. So many a times a person can find themselves being a single parent, being a woman, being a single parent. And the reason why I'm having this topic is because a lot of women are in situations where they are doing certain things that they don't understand will ancestrally affect the child, thinking that they are doing what is best for the child. And I also want to mention that not every ancestor is the same. Others are more accepting than others, and others are very jealous over their children. And so then you might find that there's slow development in a child because of the decisions that the mother decided to take when the child was born, or in the early stages of the child's growth. So obviously when the child is born, decisions need to be made right at the hospital as to who's signing the birth certificate and whose surname the child is going to take. So all Home Affairs needs to know from you is whether the child's father is present, and if he will be signing the birth certificate. If he is present, then he has all rights within South African law to sign the birth certificate and to have the child's surname and to give his surname to the child if the mother permits. All right. So we want to go through the ancestral implications. Since things have changed so much. So dala, Ntlaulo, meaning a cow that was to be paid to a family where a child has been made and no marriage arrangements were going to be made at all, is a fine that would be taken out by the brother who was, the one who made the gestation, the pregnancy. Okay, so it's a fine that him and his family would take out. And let me take you to the origins of Ntlaulo. When a maiden would be pregnant, the first step would be that obviously she has to tell her family, since she's still living in her family house, right? This is back in the day. Then the pregnancy would be reported to the guy's home. Then they will discuss, the guy's home, whether, hey, you've done this thing, you have a crime. Ne? Are you going to marry this woman, or what are you doing? The guy then has to introspect and say, I love this woman, I want to marry her, but I don't have the funds. The family would then say, all right, let's gather some money to kokoda. Ne? Meaning we'll gather some money to introduce ourselves and our intention to marry, so that this child can be born into our family. Or the guy would say, listen, it was an honest mistake, I have no intention to marry, in which case they will discuss as a family that now the discussion they are bringing to your house as the woman who is pregnant is a discussion to apologize. Pregnancy out of marriage has always been a thing that brought shame to the family, because they had strict rules about marry and then you may have children for many different reasons. Many reasons. And today when we look at those reasons, you might think they are old-fashioned, but children that are dislocated or born in dislocated families have a harder time in life, because then there's surname disputes, there's family disputes, there's the stepmothers, there's stepfathers involved. So there's many reasons, guys, that old people had put these rules in place. But unfortunately, life happens the way that it happens. So right, we are not judging. I'm definitely not here to judge anybody, but I'm here to put in context and to make you aware of some of the decisions that you take as a single mother and how they affect the children going forward. So this cow that would be brought to the family would be to say, we are sorry, we have made this accident and we are not intending to marry. So Ntlaulo was never mixed with Lobolo. It was never a discussion that Hlaula now, Lobola later. The man would have to make the decision to say, these are two different discussions, because that money must be parceled over, and then when we parcel over it, we must say to the ancestors, this money is coming from the Kumalo family who have impregnated our daughter out of marriage. They say they have no intention to marry, but they have brought their apologies. Ntlaulo, that fine was an apology to say we have brought shame to the Mahlangu name by impregnating their daughter and not intending to marry. So let the community see this four-legged animal that is standing outside the house to say, we are honorable enough to say sorry. This was to keep good relations between that family and the family of the pregnant woman. This was also to visibly show to the community that that family, they are not bad people, they are not scalem, they are owning up to their debt and they are saying sorry. The third thing was that this cow would then allow the child to visit the father's home without angering the maternal ancestry. That is what Ntlaulo was for, of which today the mix-up is that Ntlaulo immediately means that the child can take the father's surname, etc., etc. Here is the problem with doing this, guys. It's your choice if you want to give the child the father's surname, but because underground they don't recognize any lobolo being paid for you, that child underground, in your ancestors' perspective, is their child. You are growing up in your mother's home, so you are your uncle's child, because they are seeing as your brothers, the pregnant women, being the child's fathers, or standing in the place of the father, because you are growing up in the mother's home. Lobolo was the only rite of passage that could give another family the right to say, we own her and we own the child. I'm sorry to put it like this, all the feminists will get angry, but this is the way that it was. And this was the main reason why when a woman gave childbirth, they would say, okay, you got a girl, you got a girl, you got a girl. We have no children. We need a son so that we can have children. Why do they say this? It's not because they are saying a woman is unworthy, but they need a child who's going to stay in the home and carry the family's surname so that it does not die out. Because why? A woman will get married. What happens when a woman gets married? When lobola is paid for a woman, that is saying to the family of the fiancé that he has bought them or has got them a new daughter. You are welcomed into the home. The husband is not welcomed into your home. So that is why when a father has a daughter, he has a joy and a pain at the same time to know that there will be a time where she needs to join another family. Meaning all the children that she bears will be of that family's surname. So when a married woman pathlas, they need to pathla their side and the marriage surname as well. That is to show you the intensity of the exchange that happens when lobola is paid. That is then legally buying the right of your husband to name the children after him. Because if this is not done, you are now giving a child a surname on the basis of Ntlaulo or no Ntlaulo. But there's this idea that if a child does not carry their family's or their father's surname, they are doomed. This is not true. If you are having bad luck and you are carrying your maternal surname as a man, this is where the most problem comes in. Then you find men trying to find these fathers that never even made an effort to find them or to raise them. And this angers their maternal side, where you find if you had bad luck, you'll have even more bad luck. If you are having issues and you are carrying your maternal surname, the best thing to do is to find out what is the issue within your own ancestral root, the maternal side where you grew up. Finish. The problem is not that you are carrying the wrong surname in terms you don't have your father's surname. It's not the missing link. The missing link is there by the mother's side. You can find that you are pathering the wrong way. You can find that anenzi misebenzi. You can find that there's a generational curse that side or whatever the case may be. But switching surnames is not the solution. Because this, in most cases, causes more turmoil for the child than keeping their maternal surname. Because underground, it happens like this. Mashabalala, this is your grandmother who's passed on. Matsijiso gave birth. Ow! Yeah. But the Mahlangus are now saying that they will watch over this child. Hey, how are they watching over this child? What lobolas were paid? Now, the people underground, they are clashing. Why? Because when you call your surname, simultaneously you call your people. When I introduce myself, my people immediately they go, yeah, ha, ha, wait, yeah, ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. So now if you are calling another person's surname, those people's ancestors are rising. Then your maternal ancestors are saying, but how, Njani, where, why, how now? Now you find a case where your maternal ancestors want to give you something. The paternal say you can't give, it's our child. And it kabana. Because now the right steps were not followed in terms of was lobola paid or not. Meaning lobola has not been completed, but the family has expressed a desire to marry. But hulu, return 400. Harina chelete at the moment. Impa, our wish is to marry this child and the child she bore for us. And so we ask that you are patient with us. Umkwenyana, our son, is still putting together money so that we can come and finish off the amount that you gave to us. When that family, the maternal side, is partnering over that 400, they must say that this 400 is intended as lobola. It is not complete. They will come back and they will finish off, in which case the legalities can then be transferred to the men, because the process of lobola has already now is in action. It cannot be reversed. He is saying he wants to marry, and so then the intention is there. We are now speaking over the money to say to the ancestors, it's just a matter of time. They will come and they will finish off the money. Not someone who is saying the abazingen. It will never be done. Meaning it is a debt now you have opened forever in the ancestral realm. This is not the case for everybody, where it becomes a problem for the child, but some, and in most cases, the child will suffer. And when they suffer, it will be found that they are suffering because there is a war underground. So to avoid this, carry your maternal surnames with pride. If you're a man and you grew up in your maternal side, you have every right to give your wife and your children that maternal surname. Every right. Any ceremony that is done in your life will be done on the maternal side, because those rights to do it on another side, they must be bought. So this is just to put a lot of people at ease, and some new moms that are confused about how they will handle the legalities wherein lobola has not been paid. Mbeleko for the child, an introduction to the ancestors, can be done on the maternal side. Anything that has to be done for the child can be done on the maternal side. And even when the child comes of age and need to marry, that will also be done on the maternal side until they need to join another family, or etc., depending on the gender of the child. I hope that this has been helpful, and I hope it's put a lot of you at ease and has given you peace of mind. Let's not forget the ways of old, as they come with wisdom. I hope this has helped a lot. It's been good to see you again. Thokozani. Angithi amen.